Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Robbins, and welcome to Life, Death, and the Space Between. First, a few housekeeping issues. I wanted to thank each and every one of you. I recently made my way into the top 10 of spirituality podcasts. And while I'm not someone who generally looks at the charts, I happened to that day pull up the charts for something else I was looking at and checked on mine and saw that I was in the top 10. And what that means to me is that you have helped get me here. You've listened, you've shared the word, you've sent it to a friend who you think it might be helpful for. Maybe you're a therapist and you've sent it to a client that you think would benefit from it. And so I just wanted to take a personal moment and thank you for doing that and ask you to please keep doing that if you can. It really means so much to me. Why I started this podcast initially was to give people an expansive space to think about things maybe in a way that they had never thought about them before, and to expand their view of what happens to us when we die, what our soul is here to do when we're living, and how we can live a more meaningful and fulfilled life. So with each time you spread this word, you are spreading that message. I also ask that if you have not yet rated or reviewed the podcast, if you could do that and make sure you're subscribed to it. I do think it makes a difference. I'm not sure what difference it makes, but people say it helps. So if you could do that, thank you so, so much. And with that, I'm so excited to bring you this podcast today. It's a longer one for sure, but I encourage you to listen until the end because the story is so powerful and the message is so powerful. And the message that came through, I'm interviewing Gerard Powell today, who literally, when I was reading and listening to his life before, the only word that came to my mind was what a disaster. And his life really was, despite the fact that he was a multi-millionaire and he had from the outside everything that I think people ultimately think that they want. And he was miserable on the inside. And what I think his story shows that is so powerful is one, the impact of a trauma that perhaps you don't even know you had. And so you'll have to listen to hear what that trauma was. But I was so moved by how he came to understand what had happened to him. And he turned to plant medicine in a desperate cry for help. It was either that or frankly, suicide. And so those were his two choices. And this was his last ditch effort. And it clearly changed the trajectory of his life. And he now owns Rythmia. And Rythmia is a plant medicine facility, a licensed ayahuasca facility in Costa Rica, where they're coming up on their 20,000th plant medicine journeyer and reporting 98% transformation. So really what he does is pretty incredible. Obviously, I cannot endorse plant medicine. This is at your discretion only, but I encourage you to listen till the end because the messages that come through are really things that we talk about on this show often. It's about being in alignment with your soul. It's about being honest with yourself, being truthful with yourself. And sometimes there can be multiple paths to get there. And for Gerry, it really was, despite years and years of really intense therapy, it really was plant medicine that got him there. So I know you will love this conversation. I loved this conversation. And with that, I bring you today's episode with Gerard Powell.
We need at our table of awareness the logician, but equally we need the intuitive, we need the mystic.
I almost died. I was allowed to go to the very precipice of death, of life and death, and look over the edge. And I was allowed to behold what was there and allowed to come back. Most people aren't.
When we talk about being aligned with ourself or being aligned with our soul or hearing our higher self, that's really what we're talking about, is being connected to that divine part of ourself, that light-filled part of us that is connected to God energy, that is connected to everybody here and every experience we've ever had.
If more doctors, more professionals can open up to use intuitive gifts in their work, that's really important.
Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Robbins, and welcome to Life, Death, and the Space Between. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and medium, and here we explore life, death, mediumship, near-death experiences, consciousness, and what it all means. Welcome, Jerry, to Life, Death, and the Space Between.
I'm super happy to be here, Doctor. Thank you for having me.
So, fascinating story. Your life is a fascinating story. And I just want you to take us to, I don't even know where, because it's not the beginning, but it's certainly where you kind of were at your darkest hour and making a choice as to whether or not you were going to keep on in the way that you were or take a turn somewhere else. So can you maybe kind of set the stage for what your life looked like and how you ended up where you ended up?
Absolutely. So, I was born a kid that just always got in trouble. Even from my first days in kindergarten, I was in trouble. And my life progressed. I ended up getting kicked out of schools. I wound up being accused of crimes, sitting in jail for some time, and basically getting spit into the world without a high school diploma, like just in a really hard spot to start from. And through whatever, resilience or whatever, I adapted a skill for business, and I became a millionaire in my 20s. I got married. I had 2 beautiful kids. I became a multimillionaire in my 30s, a real one, and took a company public, and then started another company that I sold at 42 for $90 million. That netted down to about 61 million and change to me. And that sounds like a great story, but really it was horrible.
Yeah, your life was a disaster.
A disaster.
Mm-hmm.
I was an alcoholic, a drug addict, a womanizer, all of that.
Yeah, there was a little bit of like a Wolf of Wall Street quality.
There was. It was wild. It was wild.
Yeah.
But the overriding, I guess, string through it is that I hated myself. And because I hated me, I hated almost everybody I came in contact with. So I was...
Right. It was just a projection of how you felt about yourself.
Having horrible feelings, horrible times. It was so bad I tried on 2 different occasions to try to commit suicide. And one time, I still had $50-some million in the bank. I mean, it's a strange, or in cash, not in the bank, in cash equivalents, right? It's a strange time. You really got to be in a dark place to do and feel that way. And one thing led to another, and my wife of 20 years left and took my kids with her. And my kids were the only thing that I really loved or ever loved in my life. And that sent me into a horrible place. And I ended up going to rehab because I thought it was an alcohol problem. I didn't understand, at that point, you're just looking at cause and effect, and you think, pattern recognition, it's probably alcohol or drugs. And everybody else thought the same thing, right? So I thought, that must be it. I went to Passages Malibu. I met an amazing doctor, Dr. Jeff McNary, who's my partner here now at Rythmia. But this is in 2009. This is 15 years ago or something.
Had you done any therapy or anything before that point? Or was this your sort of first stint?
Well, I went to a counselor in high school, and I went to a counselor with my wife for marriage counseling 2 times. Okay. So that was the thing, and I didn't like what that person had to say, and I was out. So
can't imagine why.
I'm with you,
And at one point, I think you said you had 26 cars, 6 homes.
Yeah.
Just
so
airplanes. Much stuff to try to fill you.
Stuff. Yeah. And I Well, I ended up going to Passages. I met this great guy. He became my therapist through a series of things. And I went through a period of about 5 years where I hired him full time. So I had 5 days of 5 days of 6 hours a day with Jeff. And then I went to Agape 2 days a week. My friend who became my friend then, Michael Beckwith, gave me one of the Agape counselors for 2 days a week, 3 hours a day. And this went on for 5 years. And I was still doing cocaine. I dated everybody in Malibu. I was drunk. It just never got better. But believe it or not, in hindsight, Jeff was keeping me alive, and I made him quit his job at Passages, and I offered him more money than they were offering for him to be my sole therapist. And that went on for 5 years. And finally one day I went to him and I said, dude, I'm done. I said, I spent $750,000, right, on trying to get help. Passages was $100,000 a month. It was like,
Right. I know those programs are so crazy expensive.
And then all the other things that I tried in those 5 years and nothing worked. And I said to him, dude, I'm going to kill myself. And in a little bit of levity, he said, you can't. And I said, I can't. He said, you're my only client. And I laughed my ass off. I thought, you know what he said? He said, go take a vacation. He said, you haven't been on, you need a break from counseling and therapy and just go and take a break.
And nothing was getting better for you.
Well, was it getting better? If you looked at the medium, yes, but there were still these ups and downs that were untenable. Mm-hmm. My relationships got a little bit better, but it was still a really, really rough, untenable time.
And what did you, through all of this therapy? I mean, that's a lot of therapy. How were you at that time understanding why you were doing what you were doing?
Well, at that time, I thought that I was a person who had super selfish traits, and that there was some abuse in my younger days, not sexual, I believed. I just believed that my father was so tough that I couldn't appease him. And my mother was so soft, and I was torn, is what I thought.
Got it. Okay.
And have a wonderful mom.
Okay. So that's how you were sort of making sense of this.
Trying to.
At that point. Okay.
And Dr. Jeff was giving me, he's an object relations therapist, but he's a bunch of different things at the same time. He was giving me a lot of behavioral tools and things. And I started to do a little better, but it just wasn't working. And I went to the Philippines, and I met a woman who reached out to me on Facebook. Jeff had met her. Jeff introduced me to her through someone that he knew, and she was a shaman, and she was a beautiful woman, and she reached out to me, and she said something to the effect of, I see you're in the Philippines. I'm conducting a no-speak retreat in Cebu in a short time, and I want to come and visit you. And I thought, what could this lady possibly be thinking? She goes, I had a vision that you killed yourself. And I would like to talk to you about it. And I thought, as crazy as this, the truth was, if the vacation didn't work, I already made a deal to kill myself. So I said yes to her, and I thought, because she was beautiful, I thought,
I'll seduce her.
Yes, I thought this is easy. I killed two birds with one stone. I had company and da-da. So the lady came out, and I could clearly, and she stayed with me for 2 or 3 days. And she said, I could clearly see she didn't want, what I was hoping she wanted. But she really did have this vision of me committing suicide, and the way that I was going to do it is a pretty rare way. And she even told me the way I was going to do it. And I was like, wow. And she said there was a friend of hers that went to Costa Rica and drank plant medicine, and he was just like me. He was a playboy. He was, all these things that I was. And he came back and he was a different guy. And I thought, well, I tried everything else. Let me go give this a try. And I went down there. This is the truth. I flew from the Philippines to Los Angeles. I traded luggage with my assistant, and I went down to Costa Rica on this wild journey, and I was drunk the whole time. And I ended up doing this medicine. And on the first night that I did this medicine, I saw clearer than I see you, clearer than I see this room. I saw my grandfather in a closet with me, molesting me. And every fiber of the carpet, every ornate fixture in the living room was clearer and realer than anything, and it wasn't from my eyes. It was from a 360-degree view of I could move anywhere and I could see what was going on. And I thought, oh, this poor little boy is what I thought, That's the feeling that came over me, like this poor little boy, and all of a sudden I felt great. I'm not going to use the word pride, but something in that vein. And I thought, why am I feeling that? Because everything is slowed down in these journeys, right? And I'm thinking, I know why. Because I didn't do it to anybody else. And that's why I'm a drunk. Nothing satisfies me. I'm a mean person. I'm selfish because something was done to me and I didn't take it out on anybody. And all of a sudden, or I was taking it out on people in another way.
Right.
I was taking it out on myself and others, but not in the way that it was done to me.
Well, and what's so amazing to me, there's so many things that are so powerful in this when I was kind of watching your story, is how much of the things that happened to us you were verbal at the time, but 3 is, you don't know what's happening, but you know that something's wrong. You know that it isn't right. And how that gets encoded in our brains then, and how your entire life as a result of these actions, before you really even understood what was going on, that it was right, wrong, all of that gets encoded in our systems. Thank you all so much for helping me push into the top 10 of spirituality podcasts. I could not be more excited and more grateful. And so much of this is because of you. It's been a while before I've shared all the different ways we can work together. So I wanted to make sure that if you are interested, you know how you can find me and what you can expect. So obviously you can continue to find me here on the podcast for free. If you could rate and review the podcast, I would be so grateful. And make sure you're subscribed either anywhere you get your podcasts or on YouTube so you don't miss an episode. Also, I have an online community. All of this will be listed in the show notes. This is an excellent opportunity if you really value the podcast to support the podcast. I do all of the podcasts myself, other than these random dynamic ads that you hear placed in. It is completely self-funded, except for that and the help that I do get from some of you who are part of my circle community, for which I am so grateful. Every little bit helps me so very much. Other ways that we can can work together. If you do not have my Essence workbook, you can get that online completely free. Just go to my website and sign up. This is my workbook. You get a meditation and a little bit of my course to tap into your essence. You can also find my Signs and Synchronicities workshop on my website. That is a workshop for you to learn how to better tap into your signs, your synchronicities as well. If you are a therapist and you are interested in my continuing education course on spiritually informed therapy, make sure you are signed up for my waitlist so you know as soon as that course opens again. We will be doing ongoing courses throughout the year, which I am so excited about. And this community of therapists that is coming into the space is such a beautiful, mindful community that if you are a therapist, you are going to want to be a part of. Also, I have a retreat coming up in March that is Wonder and Awe. It is all about finding your way back to your essence, frankly, this curiosity and this wonder that we all had when we were young that slowly falls away from us. We are going to find our way back there. All of this information is contained on my website. You can find it there at dramyrobbins.com. But I really would love to see you, to work with you, and to connect with you. So please check it out.
So true, so true. And then the next thing that I thought was, hey, that explains everything. And then the next thing I thought was, I did a pretty good job. All things a lot of people would have done worse.
Right.
I did a pretty good job. I employed a lot of people and took care of a lot of people and bought people houses and did things that were, I said I did a pretty good job. And then the shaman made me go visit my grandfather who was in purgatory, crazy Catholic place on planet Mars, because there really is what they don't call purgatory, they call the retching place. That is this place where it's not hell. It looks like hell, but it's a place of self-reflection and atonement.
That's always what I feel like when I've interviewed people who have had like near-death experiences, and they say they have this life review and they experience their life from the perspective of everybody. That to me has always been like what I feel like hell is like you have to reflect
100%,
on that.
100%. And I went to him and in his presence, he was retching, and I said, and I loved this man. I love him more now than I did then.
How old were you when he died?
16.
Okay.
15, and I didn't even know he did this. I knew that things were weird, and my parents kept me away from him, and there were things, but I didn't know. I really didn't know.
But your parents knew he did this.
They knew something was odd, so they would feel more comfortable when my grandmother was with us, is what I would say.
Okay.
That subconsciously they felt something might have been off.
Mm-hmm.
May have been off, and that was off, right? And I'll tell you why in a second. So the thing is, I go see my grandfather, and he's retching, and I said to the shaman, I said, make it stop. Please make it stop, because he was a good man. He was a stone cold alcoholic, but a very good man. He was.
And all of this is was it ayahuasca that you took?
My first thing I did was Iboga.
Okay.
And then ayahuasca.
Okay.
So, and then the shaman said to me, who's watching me go through this, he said, do you forgive him? And I really thought about it. And it took me a few minutes. And I actually said to him, hey, I just effing found out about it. Can you give me a minute to, you know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
Like it's just new info. And he said, and then I looked at my grandfather And I thought to myself, what he did to me was nothing. It really was nothing compared to what I've done to myself since then. Like, it was nothing. And I said to him, even in that moment, I said, hey, I forgive you. I love you. And what you did to me was nothing. Because, it's everything and nothing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I did much worse to myself than he ever did to me. I did.
And you didn't blame him that what you did in that moment. I mean, that's the beauty of plant medicine.
Yeah, I didn't feel anything. As a matter of fact, I saw goodness there was goodness in the whole thing. And he actually forgave himself. And we hugged and he went on his way. And I went, I went on mine. And what ended up happening in that journey is I was given a new heart.
Yeah, that was amazing. Can you share that piece of what happened?
So the God that I was talking to was the moon. And it's who I get on ayahuasca or anything. I always get the moon. It's a very feminine thing.
Energy,
and she took my heart. She made me put my fingers in my chest. I cracked my chest open. She took my heart, and when I pulled my heart out, it looked like a piece of pumice stone, the thing you clean your feet with.
Mm-hmm.
It was black and had all holes in it. And I gave it to her, and she had hamburger helper hands, the moon did. And she took the heart and she started going like this to it. And I saw smoke and everything coming from it. And she gave it back to me, and it looked okay. But I went to put it in my chest, and it was bad again. It was ugly again. And I felt horrible. I got a little scared, too, because I just saw the retching place.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, if I die, that's where I'm going first, right? And that's super scary. So I was like, I said to the shaman, I said, what should I do? And he said, ask her for a new heart. And when he said those words, I started crying because I thought, why in the world, of all the people in the world who could use a new heart, why would she give it to someone like me, who is the lowest of the, like I did? I've done things in my life that were horrible, As a matter of fact, in that moment, and after this whole life review, I saw that almost everybody in my life whose life I touched was worse off after I touched them than before. And I thought, oh my God. And I didn't even have the nerve to ask her for a heart. I had to work up the nerve. And I said, I know that I don't deserve this. I'm going to start crying again. I said, I know I don't deserve this, but would you give me a new heart, And she took her hands and she went like this, and in it was like a piece of, I describe it as a piece of some cut of beef. I can't tell you what cut, but in this shape, in a pear-shaped cut of beef, and it was beautiful. It was just this beautiful thing, and I put it in my heart. I put it in my chest, and I looked down, and there was a zipper, and I zipped my chest up. Crazy stuff. And the shaman called me back to Earth, and I went right from there. I said thanks to her, and she said before I left, she said, I'm going to be seeing more of you. And I was like, I fell in love with her. Fell in romantic love. Not. You see, I don't ever remember being loved by a woman in a non-sexual way.
Right. I was going to say it was that unconditional love that a mother gives to a child versus that erotic love that you look for.
Yes.
Because you were sexualized at such an early age that everything became sexual.
And so I felt like it was romantic love. I've never been in love like I was in love in those moments right there. I couldn't wait to see her again. And like, I just kept thinking it was a planet,
Right.
But
it was an energy.
Yes.
Right. It was it was a planet, but it was an energy that you felt in connection with her.
Yes. And it was this strangest feeling. And, I ended up coming back to Earth, and that day was the first day that I actually had feelings. I had feelings, and I don't even know how to describe that. But coming from not having feelings to having feelings is a strange day. It's a very odd day. And I was having all of this stuff go on that day. And at this place, you did medicine again. You did it 2 times while you were there in the week. And I did it again, and I went right up to her, and she basically told me that now that I've given you this, you have to do it for other people. And she said that you have to do 40 more journeys with me. And I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. And I kept this book. It's about 250 pages long, but it showed us exactly how to do it for other people, to have this process. And the process condensed was show me who I become, merge me back with my soul, and heal my heart. That's this little process that she worked out. And I came back to United States, and I said, Jeff, I have to go back to Costa Rica because I have to do these journeys, and I have 60 days to do them, and I'm going to do one every other day, and da-da-da.
Right. So how did he not look at that and say, here we have another addiction, like he's just now addicted to this?
Interesting. So when he looked at me, him and my kids went like a different color because I was clearly different. It's the first, and he'll say the most traumatic change he's seen in someone after this kind of event. So I said, I'm going to go back down there. And within 2 weeks, he came down and did it.
This is a very unconventional therapeutic relationship you have with him.
It was, and the medicine told him that he had to do it with me. So 90 days later, I bought this place, and we started to have this whole event where we bought the place, went to get licensed,
There's a lot of people who do plant medicine and come out of it and think, I need to give others the opportunity to do plant medicine, right? Because it's such a profound experience. And you feel like, okay, I have to make sure that everybody in the world has access to be able to heal in this way.
Yes.
So what made your experience, obviously you had the money to be able to do that.
That's it. So everybody wants to do it. And she really does call on everybody.
When you say she, because this is still with Iboga, right? This is not ayahuasca, or you're doing both?
I did the 40 journeys on Iboga.
Okay.
And then I started doing she told us to use ayahuasca. The Iboga said to use ayahuasca because it's more gentle and all these reasons.
Ayahuasca is more gentle?
Much more gentle than Iboga. Iboga is really strong. And we started doing it, and I got the same. Once you leave your body, you're in the same place. It's getting out of your body that different plant medicines do it differently. But once you're out, I'm in the same place. It's the exact same place.
Can you access that place now through other modalities, through breath work, through meditation?
You can get there through breath work. for me, I would have to do such a long meditation to get there that
It's a long journey to another
it's
planet, huh?
a long one. To get there through meditation. It's long. I get there in dream states oftentimes now, controlled dreams. But and I don't do a lot of ayahuasca now. I do one every 2 to 3 months, a small one, because it's well, there's a whole story behind that. But
I'm curious that story though too.
Okay, good. The thing about bringing it to other people is that I get to see the same thing that happened to me. Now, in December, we will see our 20,000th guest.
Does that person know they're the 20,000th, and do they get like an award?
They do every 1,000. So since there was 3,000. The 3,000th person got a free week. The 4,000th person so we've been doing this. So this is a big one, 20,000 people. And we keep data on it. We're a medically licensed place. So there's all kinds of self-reported data throughout the whole week where you wear a bracelet and you're logged in and logged out of all the classes and then what happened and all this stuff. So, and what the wildest thing is, there's about 20 major themes. Out of those 20,000 people, there's 20 major themes of plant medicine. And
what are they?
There's the fear of death, that I died. I watched myself die.
Different than the ego disillusion, or the same? Are you?
They can be the same. So everybody thinks they actually died.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody thinks, Rythmia is getting closed down because I died. That's what they think. They died during that ceremony.
That would be scary.
Yeah.
Big load to shoulder.
Yeah, it's death. They experience death. And actually it's a part of them that's dying. It's parts that no longer serve, whatever those parts are.
Right. The metaphors for it. Yeah.
The metaphors for it. And then I'm everything and nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So that is another theme, that I'm everything and nothing. The third theme is that I am everybody and everything else. The fourth thing is that God talked to me and showed me that he or she has been talking to me forever. So it's not. This is the first time. This is what a lot of Catholics say. So they've been praying. We've been praying as Catholics. I've been praying. God, ever since I was a kid. If there's a God, move that handkerchief. If there's God, please, if you're real, make it rain. That all just kid stuff, right? And I was a big Catholic. Even throughout all of my problems, I had a great love for Jesus. I still do. And so I went through this whole thing. So one of the things is I've been talking to you forever. Mm-hmm. I talk to you with every wind. I talk to you with every touch. I talk to you with every taste. I talk to you with and it's actually me experiencing those things through you. It's God experiencing those things through you. And you get this different thing. The other thing is to be another thing is to be recruited. Another thing is the forgiveness of all, including myself.
What do you mean to be recruited?
The medicine usually asks you to be an instrument of it. That in other words, I'm going to spread the message of the medicine, which is not drink medicine. It's I'm going to spread it through fairness, honesty, compassion. That's my...
So it's not like join our cult of proselytizing and conversion.
No, not at all.
It's just spreading the lessons of what the medicine shows you.
So this is it. You're anchoring the gifts of the medicine on earth. So you're anchoring. And this is what gets very hard for people when they say yes to it. To live in real truth. To be honest. To do your best to be a beneficial presence on the planet, irrespective of what's in it for you.
Mm.
Like there's this just thing that she unloads on you, and you're like, wow, that's a whole lot to do. And then there are, like tons of physical things where let's say, 40% of all people have some type of physical ailment, and that number keeps going up as the population ages.
Mm-hmm.
So as you get it starts going the other way in your 30s, right? And then your 40s, and then your 50s, and then your 60s, and now with the great resignation of the baby boomers really getting old, there's tons of this stuff. And so the medicine comes in after it works this little process of realize you have to admit to the medicine who you've become. So this is the hardest part in this 7-day thing, the 4 days of medicine. The hardest part of it is just saying who you are, because most people don't know. They don't know who they've become. And with me, I became a selfish, lying, manipulative, greedy, like all these things, and I didn't know it. I just thought I was doing the best I could do. I didn't know that's who I was. But in saying it, that step allows your soul to merge back with you, because your soul goes through a schism when that happens. That you become further and further and further away from it. It's still within your aura, but it's split. And in this moment, which usually in your ceremony, is you coming to yourself as a child, or some other child comes to you and you hug them. That's usually the merger part, where you merge back with your soul. And then she'll come in and heal or clean your heart. That's this process. That's what most people experience in some way, shape, or form. So these are the themes. Now, once that's done, you might have chronic rheumatoid arthritis or a colon issue or cancer or da-da-da-da. And you get to actually see what caused it, what caused that to occur. And it's almost always nerve-based that you worried yourself into it.
Does it heal at that point? Or is it, I always say my first medicine journey, I am convinced that I rid myself of a cancer I didn't know I had. And I always describe it as like, when I try to describe it, it's the black smoke from Lost. Did you see Lost?
I did. Yeah.
Remember the black smoke that used to rattle?
Yeah.
That came out of me in my first plant medicine journey. And I didn't know, I know a lot of it was related to like the what I was caring of other people's doing the work that I was doing for so long. And so it was like all of their toxins that had built up within me. But do people suddenly, are they like cured of cancer, or do they? Like,
many times. So sometimes they're cured of cancer. So
then why aren't we recommending this to everyone as a cancer treatment?
They do. We get people every week here that have the cancer. Lots of fibromyalgia, lots of this. The harder things to cure that get cured here are borderline personality disorder, like things that are real cluster B stuff. But
that makes sense. That makes really sense to me. Because those cluster B personality disorders are really disorders of the soul.
I believe that. I do believe that. And I'm not a therapist, I didn't graduate high school, but I'm in this thing and I get to see it all. So I see a lot of women that have borderline that come here.
And men with narcissistic personality disorder.
Men with narcissistic and then a lot of just like generalized depression. There's so much of that. I can't get over the amount of depression that's out there. People that believe they have depression or actually do. I don't know.
But this is what I talk about all the time in my work. And I'm talking about it more and more now, is like how much of these disorders are disconnections from the soul. And we've defined them because they meet a certain symptomatology and criteria. And I'm not saying that there are not other disorders that are genetically related and, you know, you have a family history of it. But again, what turns on the switch? But are real disorders of this disconnection, which for you happened at a very young age, right? I mean, you were 3 and your soul disconnected to protect itself on some level. But oh my God, this is amazing. So I have a question though. So 4 days, you did 40 journeys. For someone who only has 4 days, they come down, they do their 4 journeys, but then maybe they're left with like all of what happened and they don't know how to make sense of that because this is a lot.
So here's the thing. So it's a 7-day program. There's 11 workshops. There's breathwork meditation, there's the Dead Sea Cleanse, there's farm to table organic food, there's one-on-one and group counseling, there's the 4 ceremonies. This all goes into a week. So with me, I got what I got in my first journey. The rest of it was how to do it for other people. So the rest of my journeys were always about, from journey 2 on, or about, you're going to buy this place and this is how you're going to do it. That's what they had been about. So we have a real unique thing here where people check out and they fill in either electronically or by hand this questionnaire and survey. Now, as of this morning, I wrote it down, 97.18% of those 19,451 people reported a life-changing miracle during their stay. The better part of this is that 6 months they get another survey, and 90.22% say that this was the week that changed their life. 6 months later, this is a game changer. And because of that, because of the way that we do it, that's why everybody comes here. I mean, look, we got Joe Biden's brother, Frank, on my board of directors, who's gone through all this. Caesar Milan, the dog whisperer. Kelly Slater, the surfer. Ron White, they're all on my board. Martin Luther King's son, Martin. Because this really happens. This isn't some crackpot thing.
But what happens, because from what I've not done ayahuasca, I'm actually a little bit afraid of it. Because what'd you say?
I don't blame you. I am too. Every time that I do it, I'm like, what in the hell are you doing? Honestly.
But you know, I've heard that it can go really, really dark. And so what is the protocol if someone after 4 days does not have this experience? Like, how do they get continued support? Because a lot of the integration for other plant medicines goes on for months, right? Like you do a journey. So what does that integration then look like?
We have
down
an
the road
integration module, and in that module, there's group and individual counseling. So we get people through. But I'm going to tell you, there's 3 out of 100 that say they didn't get. It's actually 2.8 out of 100 that say they didn't get the miracle. 15% of them, after they're home, realize they got it and re-report that they did. And so then so let's say that it's like 1.9 so 2 out of 100 people don't get it. And of them, 98% of those 2 would recommend it to a friend. So the thing is, the bad experience is if you do this in a really controlled. So the thing is, when you call in, about 41% of the people are told they can't come because they're doing something that's contraindicated to this. So 4 out of 10. Would
you have been that person that couldn't come?
I would have been. But safety is everything to us because we have a medical license to do this. And then when you get here, there's another physical and another screening when you're here. And then there's all of the workshops and all of the counseling and all of, like, it's everything on top of it that ensures you're going to have not an easy time, because I'm telling you, it is the hardest week of work. People say, oh, it's just a week. It is kind of like what a Navy SEAL goes through in that final test. It is a really hard, self-introspective, lonely week of a lot of darknesses. And it's not that people see a monster.
No, you see yourself.
And that's the real, I would trade monsters for what I saw in me in a minute, you know? So there's this thing that occurs, and it is not, look at, this is the part that people have a hard time with. They have this experience, and 90% of them, 90.22, do the work after this experience. 9 out of 10 do the work, and by the work, 9 out of 10 maintain a daily practice. And they do the work. They're
a daily practice of what?
Whatever theirs is. So for some people, it's breath work. Some people, it's meditation. There's Catholics that do prayer. There's Muslims that do prayer. There's it's whatever your thing is, that daily practice, to do it every day, even if it's for 10 minutes a day, to do it. And that keeps this process moving forward. People say, is it the end? I said, that's the beginning.
It's the beginning, right?
This is the start. I have to tell you, I had a hell of a hard time in the first 50 years of my life. I've had the last 12 years of my life have been harder, but more fulfilling than anything I've ever done. And it has been harder because I said yes to doing this. If I cheated, if I just said, oh, I'm going to take the good that I got and go and just have a good rest of my life, I could have. I really could have, because
you had the money, you didn't need, right.
I didn't need anything. I could have gladly went and had a really nice rest of my life.
But that might not have fulfilled your recruited part of this, right?
It didn't. And that the pain of doing something like this, like you have to see, when we started, there was not a licensed center in the world. There's still not. We're still the only one that has a medical license to serve ayahuasca. We're still the only one in the world. Getting that and protecting it is the hardest thing we've ever done. And when you bring great light, there's all of this pushback from dark energies. Mm-hmm. So it's not and the better you do, the more of this comes at you. It's a real, it's a battle. It's a battle. And yet it's the only game in town.
What you mentioned earlier, and we said we'd get back to it. And I think this is what we were getting back to, but I didn't write it down. So, you said you only now do ayahuasca like every couple months, if then.
Yep.
How did you get to that point? And do you feel like, why do you continue to do it?
So I usually do it with a group where I'm teaching that week or something as part of that group. I was doing it way too much. And this is what happens when you do it. And by the way, there are very few people in the world that do it way too much, because it's very hard to do.
Yeah.
It's throwing up and pooping and
yeah, it sounds that part sounds terrible.
Fun. But when you do it too much, you start to experience this otherworldliness, which which makes you less effective on earth. You're so in this realm, and you're not supposed to be.
Right.
See, you're supposed to see that realm and experience the healing of that realm, and then bring those treasures back to your everyday earth life. That's what you're supposed to do.
Right. That's why you are here as a human being in this physical body.
You're here to evolve in this lifetime, this one that we're in right now. And when I see someone go all in on becoming that they go all in on becoming a plant mediciner, and they change their name, and they adopt this other persona, I can almost guarantee you that they didn't heal the thing that they were there to heal, because they trade this persona, which now may even be a trend, a fashion statement or a trend, for their pain. So they did a spiritual bypass.
Yes.
And then this becomes their new identity, and they use it as a form of being more evolved than others. And that is exactly what the
antithesis
want.
Right.
That's this thing of, and I have to tell you what I've learned. And people say, if you can sum up what you've learned out of this, I've learned I'm everything and I'm nothing. I've learned that the more that I discover, the less that I know. I know this. So I know that I know less than I used to know. And I know that the mysteries of this universe are far behind my mental comprehension, but there is a part of my soul that understands it. That's what I know. So that gives me...
And do you think that it's because we don't have the language perhaps to put to what your soul knows, and we're not meant to have that language?
Maybe that we're not supposed to be able to articulate that. And even if you could, if there's a rare soul, like 1 out of a trillion souls that can speak it, nobody would know. So nobody would ever acknowledge that person. As a matter of fact, they'd probably wind up in the bin, the loony bin somewhere, because it's beyond. This is beyond things. But what are threads that are in it, and the threads are truth and accountability is a huge one that's in it. See, nature has its own accountability. So when somebody tries to dodge truth or accountability or any of those things, they always run into a problem, because this, if you ever look at the closest thing I've seen to what this is an ant farm. So we're down here, carpenter ants live as long as 17 years here. And when you see these massive ant farms, where is Manhattan? So that's Manhattan. You look down from 10,000 feet, and that's Manhattan. And we're in this ant farm that we're constantly, we have, everybody else's energy is within us, and we're doing these things in unison. And when we get out of unison, when we get out of accord, we go into this conflict, and all of a sudden somebody gets murdered, or there's a car accident, or and we think, wow, how could that happen to me? It's 1 trillion to 1, and it's nature. It's when you're out of sync with it, and with everyone else. When you're out of sync, and you can look, there are signs in your own life. I can't make rent.
I think the symptoms are your signs.
Yeah, the symptoms are your signs, right? So I can't make rent. I can't, I keep getting fired.
You're a perfect example of all of it, right? My relationships are failing, but you probably had your job, your success of work kind of kept you maybe in a belief system that.
Well, it made me think I was good. And now here we are this much later, my children and I, and this is what my children and I have the closest relationship of any father and sons I've ever seen. And I, they didn't want to talk to me. One of them lives with me now. He's 31 years old.
I would live with you down there in Costa Rica too.
It's nice here. It's really nice. But I mean, my relationships are so different. My relationship with all that has changed for me. But nature sends us signs. So all of us have one relationship. It's this karmic relationship that never gets healed. All of us seem to have one of those. And we live with it, not from it. But the rest of what we have going is in accord. And when you start to see that things are in accord, that hey, I'm noticing that my relationships are good. I'm noticing that I'm not as stressed as I was. I'm noticing that I'm not drinking alcohol or smoking cigarettes or smoking weed or da-da-da-da. I just noticed, not that I tried to quit, that I just don't do it. It's a whole different thing. So plant medicine with addiction looks like this. For some reason, I don't want to do it. Not, please, Lord, don't let me have another drink. Da-da-da. It doesn't feel that way. It feels like I'm pretty shocked at why I don't want that. But you're even shocked yourself. Mm-hmm. Like I smoked since I was 12. I was smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day for 40 years or something. And when I no longer wanted a cigarette, I was like, I never could have done that on my own. Something in me switched where I no longer liked that thing. So I know I'm jumping all over the place.
No. Where do you think, obviously you're not in the United States. So you don't, you have a medical license, but we have restrictions on plant medicine here. It's not legal, except in a couple places. What are your thoughts on why that is? Why has it become so difficult to legalize these? I guess you're supposed to call them drugs if they're not legal, but
right. I believe that on the regulations that see, for optics, politicians do a lot of crazy shit. So one thing is they say, okay, we'll decriminalize it. So when you decriminalize something, it doesn't grow. Because what makes something grow is commerce. So like, in other words, if I were selling it there, it's still illegal. So to decriminalize it, nobody can make money. So if nobody makes money, it doesn't grow. So nobody would invest to put in a center into that. So the government has its controls on it in a million different ways. Yeah, you can use it, but you can't import it. Well, how do you get it then? There's all these tricks where, hey, look, we let everybody drive cars, but they can't put air in their tires. Like, it's a crazy,
right?
It's
and even crazy. MDMA, which wouldn't need to be, same with psilocybin, right? You don't have to import those.
No, MDMA
is a synthetic.
And I'm all for ketamine, and I'm all for all of these things. I really am. But they usually set it up. So, like, let's take ketamine, right? So ketamine really helps people with addiction. It does. And it's very light and not uncomfortable and all that. But no big company would ever really get into it because you can't make money at it. The only way you can make money in pharmaceuticals is by retaining a customer. It's the only way.
Is by keeping people sick. Yeah.
I want you to take your Crestor, your thing every single day. When do you take your Ritalin? Every day. When do you take you take it for the rest of your life? I love, if I was a Pfizer or one of these companies, I'd love to get somebody on a cholesterol medicine because I have them from then until they die. Because it doesn't get better. It only, So that's the real thing is that when you get to the point that you understand that that money controls politics and that politics do what is in the best interest of money, and that politics happens to control medicine. So money controls medicine. And when you get that, the last thing I want, if I'm medicine, is a cure.
Right.
I don't want a cure. I don't.
Guess who else doesn't want a cure? The tobacco industry.
Of course.
Right.
Right.
Alcohol industry.
Nobody wants to get
No
better.
one's like an Ozempic right now.
No, right? Nobody wants
Well,
to
the drug companies are, but the food and snack companies aren't.
Right. So you have all these lobbyists and big lobbies that control the politicians who, so if it's only strange nations that will say, hey, look, which are usually extremely poor or extremely rich, that would say, hey, look, we don't care about the short-term side effect for the economy or for companies. We really care about our people. And
Right. I think it's legal in Switzerland.
it's not.
It's not?
No, it's not.
LSD, something is, because my
Peyote is, I think.
LSD isn't?
I'm not sure about, but I know DMT is not.
Okay. Because
So-
my instructor through MAPS, I did the MAPS training. She was in Switzerland.
So like places that say yes to it on the map are like Peru, which is a poor country, Costa Rica. But I believe in the near future we're going to see a big country, a Switzerland, or a United States, or a Canada, or a Ireland, or a Dubai say yes to it. And then once that happens, and once there's collectible data, because what pharma doesn't want you to do is collect data, because now you can prove that it works. Mm-hmm. They don't mind anecdotal stories like mine. Mm-hmm. They don't like data, and we've been collecting data. So on our average client, there's about 47 data points. So 20,000 times 47, we have all this data. And people say, well, it's self-reported. It is self-reported, but it's reported by the people who went through it.
Right, but wouldn't any data for these medicines be self-reported? I mean, how do you not I guess by observation, but...
Blood tests, like there's, in regular pharma, there's tests like his tumor was 3 centimeters and now it's 1. Like there's these quantitative analysis that goes on. And self-reported data is looked at, but it's not double blind. It's not. So the thing is, as long as they can keep it, and I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist because I'm not, but I am a person who follows the money, and the money will always lead you to the answer. Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate that this is the world we live in, but it's 100%. You show me the money and I will show you the answer. Mm-hmm. It's just the way it is. But yeah, we're hoping that this big upheaval, the rewriting of the world that we're currently in, you and I picked this time to be here for this show. And we're
quite a show. It's quite a show.
It's a show, and AI and all the other stuff that's going on. We picked this time in recordable history, the greatest era of change in recordable history we picked to be alive. Mm-hmm. And the next 10 years, there's going to be more change than there was in the past 100. So I mean, is that information you got on a journey? The things told me that 6 years ago, that the next 20 years would be the thing. So the next 14 years. And then I saw it 5 days ago where one of the guys that created AI said the same thing, that we're going to see more technological advancement in the next 10 years than we did in the past 100. And I would think a greater shift in human consciousness. I hope and believe you're right. And the thing is, I still believe, and I want to tell you why I believe this. when you look at a populace, I don't care where you are, the overwhelming vast majority of the people are kind. I don't care where you go. You can drop me off in the South Bronx, South Philadelphia, West Philadelphia. You can drop me off in La Ruca de Pavas, which is the worst neighborhood in Costa Rica. And I'm going to tell you that the overwhelming vast majority of people are nice and kind.
And people want the same, the majority of people want the same things.
They do. They do. And listen, I am certainly not a person who says the rich are bad. I mean, I look at Elon Musk with awe that this guy has the most horrible life in the world and gave his life to try to do the right thing. And whether he's successful at it or not, he believes with every ounce of his being that he's trying to do the right thing. So he you know that, and not only believes it, traded his life for it. You know, idle wealth is the only enjoyable wealth, you know, because wealth brings its own litany of shit problems that are much more horrible than not having it. You know, it's like this thing. But I don't believe that the rich people are at fault or that these people are at fault. There is a subsection of the money, the tip top of the money, that acts on its own behalf, but isn't planned. It's let's say in a corporation where 40 of the board members have a huge stake in the corporation. The corporation's a medical corporation. They're not going to collude and vote in their best interest. They're automatically going to vote in their best interest. Money has its own thing. It's not collusion.
Right. It's its own energetic.
It is. People think that, the billionaires get together. The billionaires freaking hate each other. The billionaires don't get together and say, hey, we're going to pull this off. You know, they hate each other. They're human. They're envious and competitive and all this.
Maybe they need more ayahuasca, or maybe they've done it and didn't work. I don't know.
Some have. You know, I have guys that come here. One of the funny things of this is that, you know, I have a friend that had sold Rolls Royces in Beverly Hills for her whole life, and when she sees who comes here, she goes, Jerry, you get more rich people than I do. And I'm like, we do, you know, because I'm going to tell you what my wish for all people would be. I would love all people to be ridiculously wealthy for a year. So they see that it's not it. As a matter of fact, it's more of a burden than almost anything.
But when they come there, do they leave truly changed? I mean, you're truly changed. I watched that video. Everybody says you're truly changed. Your energy feels genuine, and aligned.
Yeah, I'm trying to be. Yeah. Are people really changed? I'm going to give you my gut on this. Number one, they believe they are. Number two, it is the start. So change never ends. What I'll say is this. Rythmia, their week at Rythmia, is a turning point in the road. It's usually, most people report it was the most change that they've ever experienced in their life, more than the birth of a child. That this thing, because what you do is you have a glimpse of yourself, a true glimpse of yourself, and that creates this new thing. So this is the start of the change that's going to be an ongoing. This thing is a journey. It is, and it's the start of the journey. Yeah.
Well, Jerry, are there any last parting words you have for us in terms of messages that the medicine maybe has left you with that you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah. I believe that everything counts. That you know, it all counts. And the biggest thing that people have when they're dying here, when they have this sense of regret that they didn't do enough. And that is a real dying emotion. You know, that I didn't do enough. Not that I didn't do enough for me, but I didn't do enough. I didn't do enough. So I'm going to say, regardless of your past, all of that can go away in 1 week. Your whole story about, people are so locked, even if they don't say it, it's being said in here all day. They're locked in their story. My dad was a prick, and I'm now a this, and she's
your narrative.
Yeah, it's their story. And the thing is, it doesn't matter what it was, you can get rid of it in a week, and you can start a new and different life. And if your soul hears this and you back away from it, it's not your time.
Mm-hmm.
If your soul hears this and you're drawn in, and this is the kind of drawn in you are, I'm friggin' scared of that. And yet you can't put it down.
Right.
It keeps coming back up. It keeps coming back up. That is the calling. Come in and do it. That's what I would say to people.
And everybody says that. Everybody I've talked to who's done ayahuasca, certainly for me with my plant medicine journeys, it felt that way. And then when I was done, it was like, I'm done for now. Like, it was very clear. It was like, it's done. You did what you needed to do in this portion of it. And now go do what you need to do based on what you learned in this. Now,
if you do that, if you do that, that is exactly what we tell our people to do. That, hey, look at you. There's no amount of additional information that you can get that's going to change this. You got the information. Now go do it. What is do it? Do the work. Have a practice. Stay aware. Be engaged in whatever you're doing. Be engaged. If it's your community, your church, your this, your that, be engaged, be present, be the change. That's what you're supposed to do. Not talk down to people like, and wear your beads and your turban and your da-da-da-da-da. That's not what this is about. This is about being the change yourself and doing it. Yeah.
So Jerry, tell us where people can find you, Rythmia. There's a thing called the internet.
Yeah, the internet,
right?
www.rythmia, rythmia.com. Or you just Google Rythmia Costa Rica and it'll come right up. And listen, I really, really, really mean this. If you hear this and it doesn't do anything, don't come. But if you hear this and you feel the pull, either I'm afraid of it and I can't put it down, I heard it and it keeps haunting me, by all means, come. It'll change your life. It will. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jerry, so much for your time. This was an incredibly beautiful conversation. Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to ask you.
Yeah,
do you have a time?
Go ahead. No.
Do you think there would have been any other way to access the trauma that you saw other than this? Like, do you think that there would have been any amount of therapy where eventually you would have gotten there?
So here's my thought on that. I was in 5 years of therapy of 5 days a week plus 2 part-time days, and I never got a glimpse of it. Never got a glimpse of it. And never even a glimpse of it. And as a matter of fact, I looked for it. I was like, something ain't adding up.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know what it was. But there was something clearly not adding up.
Have you ever had people who have had abuse pre-3 that they've...
Tons.
Yeah.
Tons.
God, it's so fascinating. That is so fascinating to me.
Tons.
Hmm.
You know, I have people who were abused in the womb where their mother was hit while they were hit or punched or raped while they were carrying them, like crazy wildness because they're experiencing what their mother is experiencing.
Right. Oh my God. That's just incredible.
People, right? Poor, sweet people. And they know what the hell was wrong with them their whole life. Like,
right.
Crazy.
What they heard. Oh my God. Well, Jerry, thank you so much for the work
Thank
that you're
so
putting
much,
into
Doctor.
this world.
Thanks
It's
for having me
amazing.
on your amazing podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Like what you heard today and want to hear more? Wondering what comes next and what it all means? Head over to Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, or anywhere you get your podcasts and hit subscribe. Also, if you could take a minute to rate and review my podcast, I would really appreciate it. Stay tuned as we continue to explore life, death, and the space between.